For the second time today, the drivers in the Cooper Tires USF2000 Championship will take to the racetrack for a qualifying session. Earlier today, laying down times to set the grid for race number 1, which will take place tomorrow morning. Now it's time to set the grid for race 2. Double header for USF2000 tomorrow on Saturday. Work still to be done for these drivers here to see who can go quicker to keep themselves on the front row. Michael D'Orlando and Jace Denmark, P1 and P2 of the opening session. We'll see whether or not those drivers can once again top the 21-car field that have taken to the racetrack for 20 minutes of green flag racing. My name's Rob Howden, the voice of the Road to Indy, presented by Cooper Tires, joined by the voice of Road America, Eric Mueller. And Eric, not surprising, green to checker essentially in that first 20-minute session. Drivers dialing things in, getting the tires swapped out midway through the session. Michael D'Orlando likes this racetrack, and he's coming off a couple of back-to-back wins.
Absolutely, and we talk about big momentum, yeah. always the critical key piece here. One thing to notice from the qualifying session this morning, track temperature up 13.5 degrees now.
Yeah.
You know, you made fun of me earlier for paying attention to that number, but that big number tells me that these Cooper tires are going to come up to speed much faster than they did in that early session.
Yeah, 78 degrees ambient, 101.7 the track temperature. And again, obviously Eric staying focused on that. I guarantee the engineers were for sure. They want to know what the track is doing, and because it's so big. 4.1 miles? 4 miles?
4.048.
4.048 miles. It's a big place. It's a massive facility. You go from, I remember you tell me one time the elevation changed from like turn 1 all the way down to the kettle bottoms, but it's a long way apart. You could have rain or cloud on one side and dry and sunny on the other side of the racetrack. The engineers need to know what this racing surface is like. That's what you tell the setup in for. If it's super hot, super cool, whatever it may be, you're going to do different things to that race car.
Obviously, with a little bit warmer track temperature, how much do you trim the car out for the long straightaways? You're going to have a little bit denser air now, yep. Right at track surface level. So keeping an eye on that. What type of aero trim are you going to have with these cars? And again, what's your tire choice coming into this qualifying session?
Yeah, tire choice, tire pressure. 3 sets of tires for use throughout practice, both qualifying sessions and the races. I talked to a couple of teams during the break there. They went out on 2 sets of sticker tires. Of course, we'll essentially run those tires in, right? So 5 laps on each, 4 laps on each. Each one of those sets will go to a race, depending on how things happen here. Most of these guys, I would assume, will roll out either with sticker tires, Eric, or potentially using one of those sets they used in the first session. They've made adjustments to the car. How does it feel? Bring it in, throw that other set on for what we found out was really probably only a 3 or 4 lap run, because the short 20-minute session, you're not putting 8-9 laps on a set, coming in, putting new tires on and going back out. Limited running, and you break it into 2 different runs.
And that's exactly what Billy Fraser and that 92 team did. You know, they pitted with about 5.5 minutes left to go in that initial qualifying session, bolted on new tires, went out and did 2 quick laps before the checkered flag came out, basically betting in those tires.
For me, I wish they would have pit just maybe a minute or 2 earlier. I really have a feeling that he may have been able to go quicker in race number 3. But on the flip side of that, as you mentioned, now those tires only have a couple laps. He qualified 3rd. Billy Fraser did for Exclusive Autosport driver, coming here 4th place in points, and needs to grab that first victory. P3 is a pretty solid place to start, and there's a really good set of tires they can put for race 1 or race 2 tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. And you look through the field here, looking through some of the best times. Thomas Devoe didn't improve any of his time in the qualifying session. His fastest lap of the weekend was still in P1. So, they're looking for something different in the setup here in this qualifying 2 session.
Well, and the good thing about Thomas is he likes this racetrack. He was able to win here last year as a rookie with Cape Motorsports, but he's gone over to D-Force Racing, who won the championship last year with Kiko Porto. Got a couple of really quick teammates with him as well, in Bajoy Garg and Dylan Christie. Those are the 3 drivers at D-Force. You can see drivers kind of hustling through here. There's Billy Fraser in the number 92. That's not an ideal place to be, but you got to expect that he'll be back in the pits, make some changes, really get a feel for the car right now as he's diving down the inside of Jace Denmark as they work their way through turn number 3. That's not how to set a fast lap or to gaggle of cars like that, but you can get a feel for the car, what it's doing, make the pit stop, put the fresh rubber on, and then it is ultimately crucial to find open racetrack and potentially even a driver in front of you who can act as a rabbit.
Well, in many cases, obviously, there's a little bit of a toe that you're going to get in 3 straightaways here, but you need to make sure that your car is aero balanced enough to be by itself, and running wide doesn't help in turn 5 either. A little agricultural work there on the outside and on the exit of 5 on the way up to the top of the hill. But you know, there is a point where you can use those rumble strips to your advantage, but these cars really get upset when you get past the rumble strips, especially if both front and rears clip those rumble strips. Then you got the gator strips, which is the second level, right at the center of the apex there, as you saw in turn 7. That is not where you want to put these cars. These cars do not like to get upset.
And we try to get these cars, the engineers do, as low as you possibly can, right? Ride height is key. You're trying to get as low as possible. They actually have that board, the floorboard across the bottom of the car is made of plywood that will actually rub off a little bit. You want to get the car as low as possible, but you still want that transition rate from side to side when you're rolling through these corners. There isn't a lot of suspension travel on these open wheel formula cars, so very stiffly sprung and a very rigid platform, but nonetheless you still have to get that car to be able to transfer some weight to be able to rotate through the tighter corners here at Road America.
Again, art of compromise at Road America. You've got a lot of right-hand sweeping corners where the left-handers are a little bit tighter, more 90 degrees, more slow speed corners. So you are giving up a little bit in your center off rotation in those 3 corners, 5, 6, and 8. But the rest of the balance of this racetrack, high-speed right-handers, turn 1, turn 3, the carousel, 12, 14. A lot of cars dive into pit lane now. We're going to see a lot of Cooper tires being bolted onto these machines.
Yeah, there's Billy Fraser staying out on the racetrack. Christian Weir, and the number 10 of Thomas Deveau, the 12 of Dylan Christie. There's the 90 of Jacob Douglas as well. The 91 and the 30. The 91, a very impressive driver we've seen come up through the USF Juniors and other ranks. That is Brienza, actually running in Brienza in the F1600 Championship Series. The 61 is Nicholas D'Orlando, brother of your point leader Michael D'Orlando. He is the reigning F1600 Championship Series title winner last year, was running in USF Juniors earlier this year, electing to jump up with VRD Racing to run here in USF2000 here at Road America and through the end of the year. So a bunch of drivers in the pit lane. Dylan Christie, Jagger Jones, and Nikita Johnson. Also Jackson Lee, Miles Rowe, and Chase Denmark. So both Pabst Racing drivers are in a couple of the Cape cars in the pit lane. One of the one of the D-Force cars, and one of the VRD cars. Everybody else still out onto the racetrack. Keeping an eye on the time though, Eric. 8 minutes down, 12 minutes to go. You do not want to get caught again. You need to get those fresh tires on and get them up to temperature. I think you need probably 3 or 4 laps to be able to get those tires optimally where they are. But will it change now that the temperature's up a lot? Will it be lap 3 this time with the higher temperatures? As you
I think with the higher track temperatures, it certainly would kind of get those tires up to optimal range after maybe lap 3. Lap 4 is when we saw a lot of teams in the test session kind of getting their fast laps. Where lap 2, 3, 4 is kind of the window you want to be in, but you don't want to get yourself caught on pit lane and with a red either. You got to get your banker laps in, and obviously we've got a few with banker laps in right now. Fraser quickest in the session so far at 2:12.05. Of course, the Q1 time for Michael D'Orlando was a 2:10.74. So we're a little bit slower than that pace, but still we're working lap 3 right now.
Yeah, Fraser just dropped down to 2:11.4, so getting a lot closer. Billy Fraser's really been at the forefront of the timesheets in both test sessions yesterday, practice earlier today. Fraser pretty strong, but Joey Garg's up there as well. Christian Weir, Jorge Garcias from J. Howard Driver Development in the number 9 and 4th. Thomas Deveau 5th. Michael D'Orlando, who qualified to the pole for race 1. He's in the pit lane now here as well. And again, look at this. Here comes mass exodus from the racetrack onto pit lane. Time to get things underway. Deveau, Garg, D'Orlando, Christie, Brienza, Burke, Dzelski. Everybody coming into pit lane. Billy Fraser, though, has not yet come to pit lane. Again, we talked about the fact that he waited till with maybe 5 minutes remaining. Here, the key to this, folks, if you're watching from around the racetrack or watching at home on any one of the apps or the platforms, YouTube, whatever it may be, this isn't an NTT IndyCar Series pit stop. We're not doing it in 6.5 seconds. It's going to take a couple of minutes because literally one air gun or a couple of air guns, not even an air gun, they actually bring out the big wrench to pull it apart. Front end goes up, rear end goes up. It takes a couple of minutes to change the tires on these cars, and that's key, I think, because you really have to time when you're getting onto pit lane.
And I think that's where it kind of caught Fraser out a little bit in that Q1 session. I think they came in maybe that minute too late and didn't get the pole run that they were looking for. I mean, they had the right strategy, but just a hair too late. And that's, we talk about thousandths of a second in qualifying, and that's kind of the thing. They're 60 seconds too late on making a call to come.
And I say that because he turned his fastest lap of the session on the last lap. That car was still coming in. One more lap, and he would have been able to find just that little bit more he needed. Indeed, ended up being just, 0.13. Not even a tenth and a half behind, and all he needed to do was put a nice, tidy lap together. I think he might have just rolled by here. We're going to check him again. No, that's the 22 that just rolled by. 22 on pit lane and back off. The 22 is Miles Rowe, 2 times the winner this year, running second in points coming in, just 17 markers behind Michael D'Orlando. Stickers all around. The 91 of Brienza, the 12 of Garg. We know the 10 of DeVoe in as well. Tentative lap here right now. This is key. Some of these drivers on flyers, others coming out on sticker tires. Temperature not bad at 78 degrees, but this is when, as a driver, don't make the mistake. Don't flat spot a tire. Don't go off. Don't spin. This is when you have to manage and take care of the rubber and get it up to temperature correctly so that you can drop the hammer and go to work. The 33 now into pit lane as well. That's Spike Kohlbecker. Here comes the 30 as well, Victor Anderson. Anderson currently in the 12th spot. Fraser on top, 211.427. 8 tenths quicker. 8 minutes to go. Are they rolling the dice and potentially trying to keep a sticker set of tires for the race? I don't know. Fraser, 211.4. Probably about 7 tenths off the time set by Michael D'Orlando. Fraser, Garg, Weir, Garcias, and Neveau, top 5. D'Orlando 6th, Kohlbecker 7th, Burke 8th, Dylan Christie and Jagger Jones rounding out the top 10.
We talked about it in Indy Pro, but same thing applies here. The deepest anyone has started in the field is Miles Rowe. It's in 6th spot at St. Pete, for the win. So you don't want to get yourself into the chaos, which is 3rd, 4th row, 5th row on back, mired deep into the field on the start. I know this is for race 2, but you've still got to be mindful of what happens in race 1. You don't want to set yourself up for, if you do have problems in race 1, race 2 is your way out.
Well, and here's the thing, you look at Road America, and this is what happens, right? Road America, very similar to the front straightaway at Indianapolis. Very wide. You can go, we're going to go 4 wide. We are coming down into turn number 1. Very similar to Indianapolis. And when everything bottles up in 1, it's the driver starting 1st and 2nd who all of a sudden go down to turn 3 with 5, 6, 7 car lengths, right? Because everybody else has bottled it up. That can happen. That's why qualifying is so crucial at some of the tracks where the opening corner is like that. Other corners like a Road America may be a little bit different. Nobody's really going to get away when we start on the back straightaway there. Mid-Ohio, here, Road America, though, man, turn 1's going to be sketchy. Billy Fraser, I believe, staying out on the racetrack here. 2 drivers going at it. That's the number 2 of Jackson Lee and the 32 of Christian Weir. Weir currently sitting in 6th spot. Jackson Lee, where's Jackson? He's in 19th. Jagger Jones has moved his way up to 3rd. And how about Nikita Johnson for VRD Racing? Our USF Juniors driver. He's been on the podium multiple times this year in USF Juniors. Just 14 years of age, making him eligible here for USF2000. He's P3, 4 tenths of a second back. And again, I don't think that we've seen Billy Fraser on pit lane yet in the number 92. 5.5 minutes to go. Interested whether or not Fraser elected to stay for tires. This could be very interesting, whether or not he potentially held on to a set. Or did he start on stickers at the start of this session? That's a possibility as well.
Pace isn't quite what he had in that first session, but very honestly, 5 laps completed now here in the session, and you're looking at what he would have had 3.5 to 4 laps in that Q1 session. So maybe did save a set of tires, and they're just working the rocks from the first qualifying session.
Last lap time at 2:25, like he might have kind of checked up a little bit there. I don't know whether he's still thinking about coming to the pit lane. I did not see him come to pit lane unless he snuck by us. Fraser at 2:11.427. He's about a tenth and a half quicker than Jagger Jones. Thomas Neveau has jumped up into 3rd, 2:11.660. these drivers all just putting their first lap in after being in the pits. So this is new tire runs coming for so many of these drivers. Those tires just coming into temp. And here goes Michael D'Orlando to P1 in the number 4. D'Orlando already with a pole, 2:11.137.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering to see when he was kind of floating in that 8th, 9th range. Like, when were they going to kind of start to find some speed here in this qualifying session? And Jace Denmark moves up into a P2 with a 2:11.34. D'Orlando at 2:11.13. Pretty quick time here. Still not quite what we saw in Q1, but again, track temperature a little bit warmer, maybe overheating the tires just a bit too.
D'Orlando rolling into turn number 1. I believe that was the 91 of Joey Brienza right behind him as well. Just over 3.5 minutes remaining. Fraser holding on to P3. 2:11.427. 3/10 back for Fraser. Denmark up into second. This is exactly how they were last session. In fact, right back to Jones. Top 4 exactly like they were in the first session. D'Orlando, Denmark, Fraser, and Jones. And indeed, the only obviously difference right now is whether or not Fraser has elected not to pit in this session. Does he hold on to a sticker set of Coopers as the driver's dropping some wheels on the exit 6 there?
Rough ride in 6 there.
A little too deep in the top of the hill. The blind left-hander under the Corvette bridge. Through the carousel. Car starts to get a little loose there. Rear end wants to come back around, but loose is faster there still. A push is the last thing you want through that corner. It's more comfortable, but you don't want it. You want the car to be very free through the carousel, so you're getting all that bite, get rolling back on the throttle, coming out of that corner down into the kink.
Well, that's where we said you kind of have to compromise. There's a lot more right-hand speed corners here than the slow-speed left-handers. You're giving up a little bit in 3 corners specifically, and we can see the mistakes in turn 6 when you go too far in that adjustment. If you get a little bit too tight, or if you bind up a little bit too much power off in 6. If you try to back the corner up a little bit, but get your power down a little bit too soon in turn 6, you can get a little bit of a push on that left-hander.
D'Orlando up to P1, as we said, 2:11.119. 2/10 quicker than Jace Denmark from Pabst Racing. Billy Fraser holding on to 3rd. Nikita Johnson up to 4th. Jagger Jones 5th. Bajoy Garg in 6th. 2 minutes remaining. 7th, Joey Brienza with a good lap. 8th, Thomas DeVoe. 9th, Danny Dezelski. And 10th is Jorge Garcias. Great runs here for Dezelski and Garcias, the 2 for Jay Howard Driver Development. Dezelski just 14 years of age. Great run for him right now, P9, Garcias in 10th. They found a little bit of speed there for the Jay Howard Driver Development crew.
Curious to see what the plan is for the 22 of Miles Rowe. 12th quick right now.
Indeed, that's deep for Miles Rowe, who
second place in points.
Right, second place in points. He was P5 in the opening qualifying session, right down in the thick of it there. Billy Fraser indeed has not yet made a pit stop. In comes the number 6. That's Garcias, I believe. No, the 6 actually is Ivagoras Papasavas. He's in the pit lane, driver making his debut. 16th in the order, 2:12.164 for Papasavas, the second back. So, trying to get some updating here from Fraser. I guess there was contact. You talked about Fraser going off at the end of that one stint. He actually had contact with Thomas DeVoe, got into the back of him, and then kind of pushed him into a Jay Howard car, I'm told, in turn 5. So that was the incident. I remember you picked that up, Eric, in the opening practice session. He then pitted and had to put fresh tires on that point. So maybe a little bit off in terms of tire strategy for Billy Fraser, but the one thing about qualifying, when it's done, it's done. Here's the sets of tires you got for 2 races tomorrow. Take it or leave it and do what you can with the rubber you have. Time winding down, 25 seconds remaining here in qualifying. The Cooper Tires Grand Prix of Road America, presented by and powered by Elite Engines, the manufacturer and builder of all of our power plants here on the road to Indy in the USF2000 and Indy Pro 2000 categories. Shop here in Wisconsin, Steve and Logan Knapp churning out the power for our race cars here. Clock has come to a 0 hour and checkered flag will fly. Last time by. Everybody coming by the stripe right now with that one more lap back around to the alternate timing stripe. And Eric, this is the time when each one of these drivers can dig deep to see if they can find something. Nothing for Jace Denmark. He's still going to be 0.2 of a second back. Everybody, though, with one more shot climbing the order.
Yeah, and Denmark was the first to cross the timing line over in turn 14 just before the corner entry. Of course, that's so they can dive onto pit lane right quick. But you know, I don't think that Fraser's necessarily has anything for Denmark for the front row start, but still a little bit alternate tire strategy perhaps because of the incident in that first qualifying session. It'll be interesting to see if Johnson or even Rowe can improve here, being mired back in 12th.
Yeah.
Again, we talk about being in control of your own destiny and controlling the chaos, but back in that outside of the 6th row, there's going to be a lot of chaos into turn 1 for Rowe.
And even Nikita Johnson and Billy Fraser, yeah, they're row 2, but how many times have we seen the draft all the way past start finish so far down to turn 1? They could end up being the leader coming out of turn number 1. That's one of the things about this racetrack. It is such a long run from when you're going to get the green flag to when you're setting yourself up for turn number 1, that right-hander. So we've seen the draft happen many times. Drivers driving down the bottom of the racetrack, around the outside to sweep around from 3rd to P1 coming out of 1. A lot of opportunity still. Denmark, Garcias and Hayes across the line. Denmark 2nd. Garcias still holding on to the top 10. Nicky Hayes 13th. A ton of drivers still to come though. Final lap for USF2000 to complete the grids for tomorrow's doubleheader of races. Both USF2000 races happening tomorrow. Indy Pro 2000 qualifying 2. Their race 1 as well. And here we go. Drivers coming across the line. Naveau does not. Rowe goes to P5. Eric with a little Cheshire cat grin over here said he needed that. Final lap for Miles Rowe, jumping from 12th up into 5th, where he was for race number 1. Fraser does not go any quicker either. He's P3. D'Orlando holding on to the P1 spot, provisional pole. Nikita Johnson still coming in the number 17 for VRD Racing. Jagger Jones looks like he's still out there. Thomas Naveau. Number of drivers potentially still on track, or have they already pulled into pit lane? That's a possibility. Yeah, Johnson just across the line. He does not go any quicker. So indeed, that'll cap things off. Michael D'Orlando, back-to-back pole positions coming off that win in the Freedom 75 at Indianapolis Raceway Park. The momentum there, the point lead coming in here to Road America track. He told me after the win at IRP on the Oval that he loves this racetrack, and he is very happy to be coming here to Road America. 2 poles for him, a couple of bonus points as well, stretching that point lead out to 19 now over Miles Rowe. Jace Denmark and Billy Fraser exactly where they qualified in the opening race, 2nd and 3rd. Nikita Johnson, though, jumps up the order pretty nicely. Nikita was 7th for race 1. He'll be on the outside of row 2 for race number 2. Miles Rowe, a solid final lap, as Eric had said. He works his way up to 5th, Eric. You were kind of waiting for that, right? Biding his time and finally put one in.
We kind of waiting to see if he was maybe looking for some clean racetrack, too. There was a point in that session where you had 5 or 6 cars all on pit lane at the same time. Maybe he got mired up in some traffic, got behind somebody that came out in front of them, and just trying to keep some good left in those Cooper tires before that last run. But
that's right.
From 12th to 5th on the last lap, that's a good run for Miles Rowe. Inside row 3, it's not going to be easy from there, but certainly it's a much better option than outside row 6.
Yeah, better than 12th, that's for sure.
Yeah.
You see the order coming up here for you right now. D'Orlando, Denmark, Fraser, Johnson, and Rowe, the top 5. Jones 6th, Garg 7th. Brienza, Naveau, and Dezelski rounding out the top 10. A first career top 10 qualifying run there for Danny Dezelski. Jorge Garcias and Dylan Christie, 11th and 12th. Nicky Hayes in 13th. Jackson Lee, 14th. Trey Burke in the 15th spot. Evagoras Papasavas and Spike Kolbecker, 16th, 17th. Christian Weir, 18th. Victor Anderson, Nicholas D'Orlando, and Jacob Douglas rounding out the 21-car field, which will go racing 2 times tomorrow here at Road America. We're winding things down. Only 4 more sessions, 5 more sessions. 1 more qualifying tomorrow morning for Indy Pro 2000. Couple of races tomorrow for USF 2000. Indy Pro will get their first of 2 races as well tomorrow. And then Sunday morning, before the NTT IndyCar Series main event here at Road America, Indy Pro 2000 will cap things off. A lot of racing still to come for the drivers on the first 2 rung of the road to Indy. We know, Eric, Indy Lights getting ready to come soon. The IndyCar drivers get ready to fire things up as well. And a lot of action for the remainder of the day. Those of you tuning in on the Road to Indy TV app, thanks for doing so. We make sure you get back here tomorrow. 3 races for you, more qualifying. So either that, the Road to Indy TV app, the Road to Indy YouTube channel, of course, either of the websites, USF2000.com or IndyPro2000.com. Do appreciate you everyone tuning in. On behalf of the voice of Road America, Eric Mueller, my name's Rob Howden. Bye for now.